Hi, everybody. My name is Rita Crompton, also known as the Inventor Lady and host of the radio show Invent America. And last week, Leo was on as one of our guests. And so now we get to do a video and actually see who's doing the talking. Leo, thank you so much for joining us. This is Leo Mazur. He is the president of the South Florida group, right?
Yes, the Inventor Society of South Florida.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Tell everybody a little bit about what you've invented, and then tell us a little bit about your group.
Okay. Well, what I invented, I was inventing tools, etc. My first invention that I actually sent out to companies was a device for a reciprocating saw. At that time, I didn't know anything about public disclosures, nothing. And I had been showing it on the job for like 2 years and everything, and I had no way of getting. At that point, I learned not to do that, and that's when I learned about public disclosures, etc. I then realized I needed to find a group, so I found a group in New Jersey. It was the National Inventor Society, and when I first joined, they had a bunch of retired inventors from large companies. And boy, I learned a lot from them. They'd tell me their stories and I'd learn like crazy. But then what happened was they decided to increase the dues, and all those retired guys left. And all that was left was the president, who believed that all you had to do was write your own patents and the world will be the path to your door. And I knew that that was dead wrong. So I started going to inventor shows. I went to the Independent Inventors Conference by the USPTO. I met all kinds of people there too and learned a lot. Then I moved to Florida. And when I moved to Florida, I joined this group. And the leaving president from that group joined my group in New Jersey the same week. So I joined that group. It turns out that I started bringing in the speakers because they didn't have speakers. And when I got up during an expo I did my little street act like I would at a trade show, talking to people and everything. Well, the board of directors says, boy, he's the right guy to be president. And I said, no, I got to wait until the bylaws allow me to be president. So I waited, I became president, and I started bringing in all kinds of people. I mean, I brought in Steve Greenberg when nobody knew who he was. He had just written the book, his first book.
Well, it's funny when you talk about the older inventors, because when I first started doing this 15 plus years ago, I forget, it's been about 18 now. And, the group I joined was a bunch of ex-rocket scientists. I mean, really, they
Right.
for NASA. And, some of the big groups in Colorado that were doing that space exploration. And so when we always say it's like, well, it's not rocket science, we always got a big laugh out of that because these guys were all the ex-rocket scientists. And now they were doing, simple consumer gadgets. And, one of the inventors I still work with, he did, when you watch a movie and you see those big screens that NASA's got, he actually did the LED lighting behind those screens.
Wow.
And so, very cool inventions, very cool guys, very wise. And they taught me everything. So it's interesting the way we learn, because it's not like you're in the 5th grade and somebody says, what are you going to do when you grow up? And it's like, oh well, I'm going to be an inventor. Every once in a while you get somebody who knows it, but for most of us it is a learning process. And so there are some good groups out there and there are not some good groups out there. And I appreciate Michael King's dedication to
With
getting
my
the
group,
word out.
basically, I went to one of the independent vendor conferences, and I met Forrest Bird. He's the man who invented the pressurized flight suit, and he invented the respirator that we're still using for COVID right now.
Wow.
He's somebody.
Yep.
And his wife Pamela was trying to get me away from him because I was talking to him about prototyping and how my group doesn't believe in prototyping, and I do. I make all my own prototypes. So I was telling him, and he says, well, when I invented the respirator, he says, I was looking around my shop for something to be a funnel, and I couldn't find anything. So I pulled the doorknob off the door, knocked the end of it off, and I used it, and it worked, and I was thrilled. And then I figured, how am I getting out of this room?
I know over the years we met the gentleman who invented the fax machine, and he was actually a rocket scientist. And they couldn't get a safe way to get messages back when they were working on the rocket. So he invented the fax machine.
Wow.
And then another one we did was the gentleman who invented Post-it note.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah, and the stories he tells about inventing that glue so it didn't leave residue behind was just so much fun. So,
Right.
over the years, we meet a lot of people. Some of them had just invented brilliant things and very simple things. So when I get an inventor that says, oh, it's so simple, I'm not really an inventor, it's like, don't sell yourself short.
Right.
But being able to join a group, and the Inventors Roundtable is virtual. So anybody out there in America stuck, in a rural area where there's not a local meeting, join us on the Inventors Roundtable. We do 2 a month, and a lot of the other meetings across the country are virtual as well. The pandemic was kind of stinky, but on the other hand, we got some good things out of it. And I think it opened up some of those virtual meetings so that anybody in America can join a meeting virtually and then be able to ask questions of other inventors. Sometimes your best resource is the inventor next to you, either on the screen or sitting at a table.
Well, one of the problems that I found with some groups is that they use a blanket DNA for the meeting so that anybody could get up and talk about it. Well, I must have more than a dozen. I have, God only knows how many boxes of prototypes that failed for some reason or other, but they're still on my books. And every now and then something comes up and once becomes alive again.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose those by somebody getting up at a meeting and just saying, I got an idea for this. And you go, oh, Jesus Christ.
No, and I careful those words there. These do go out public. But one of the things that we do is say, all right, you don't want to give me an enabling disclosure, all right, at the meetings. But there's certain things that they can say. All right, if they say, well, I've invented a new baseball bat that will hit the ball every time. Well, now I know what industry. Now I know what kind of gadget. But they haven't told me what's inside the bat that makes it hit the ball every time. A new fishing type of gadget that will, bob automatically. Well, there's a lot more to it than just that. But now we know, again, industry and the ballpark ideas. So, somebody can give parameters of what they're working on without giving the details of what they're working on. But I agree with you. We do not do a blanket disclosure at ours. I will sign them behind the scenes with someone individually, but I will not do a blanket one at the meetings. I just give parameters and say, okay, let me ask you some ballpark questions, and then you can fill in the blanks, but don't give us these enabling details. But anyway, I want to thank you very, very much for helping. I get to speak with Leo in January with Leo's group. So thank you for the invitation. I look forward to it. And if you've got any inventors down there that should be going to the hardware show with us that are getting teed up, by all means, give them our information. And we will be posting then your group's information on the website with the video from today and with the radio interview that we did last week. Thank you so much, Leo.
Okay.
Take care now.
You take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.